Once upon a time, deep beneath the azure waves where sunlight reaches only as a shimmering memory, there existed a kingdom more beautiful than any human mind could conceive. The deep sea was not a place of darkness, but a world vibrant with rainbow-colored corals swaying in the current and schools of tiny fish darting like living jewels. At the heart of this underwater city stood a magnificent palace crafted from iridescent shells and mother-of-pearl, the home of the Sea King who ruled his people with gentle wisdom. The Sea King had 6 beautiful daughters, each possessing a voice as clear as a silver bell. But among all the sisters, the youngest was the most special. She was a little mermaid with eyes as blue as the deepest ocean and skin as soft as a rose petal. While her sisters were content playing in the coral gardens, the little mermaid often floated in silence, gazing up toward the surface far above. She was captivated by the stories her grandmother told of the world above, of flowers with sweet scents, creatures with wings that flew through the sky, and most curiously, humans who had legs to walk upon the earth instead of tails to swim through the sea. According to the traditions of the deep, when a mermaid reached the age of 15, she was allowed to rise to the surface to see the world above. The little mermaid waited for that day with a longing heart. Year after year, she watched her sisters return with exciting tales, until finally her 15th birthday arrived. She adorned her hair with pure white lilies and slowly swam upward, cutting through the currents toward the world of light for the very first time. When she broke the surface, the first thing she saw was the evening sky bathed in shades of orange and gold. Not far away, a great ship lay at anchor in the calm waters. A celebration was taking place on board, but the little mermaid's eyes were fixed on a handsome young prince with a warm, kind smile. She watched him from the shadows of the waves for a long time, until suddenly a violent storm began to brew. The waves turned into mountains of dark water, and the ship was torn apart by the gale. The little mermaid knew that humans could not breathe beneath the waves, so she summoned all her courage to swim through the wreckage and rescue the unconscious prince. She held his head above the water and swam with all her might toward the shore. At dawn, as the storm subsided, she placed the prince gently on the white sands. She kissed his forehead softly and watched from the water until someone came to find him. Seeing that he was safe, she sadly dove back into the deep. From that day on, the little mermaid's heart knew no peace. Her love drove her to make a difficult choice. She began to swim toward the direction where sunlight never reached, to the very bottom of the ocean, where the silence was so profound she could hear her own heartbeat. The water around her turned a deep royal purple and felt ancient and cold. This was the realm of the Oracle of the Ocean, a sea witch of great mystery. The landscape was filled with silver-white sea plants that glowed with a faint ghostly light, swaying slowly as if dancing in a dream. The sand here was as smooth as silk, and schools of tiny bioluminescent fish circled like swirling constellations to greet the silent visitor. In the midst of this vast emptiness stood a circular temple made of giant white pearl shells, elegant and serene. There, the little mermaid found the sea witch. She was not frightening, as the old stories claimed, but appeared as a woman of profound stillness and mystery. Her skin was a pale, polished gray, and her silver eyes seemed to look through time itself. She sat upon a throne of underwater crystal, surrounded by a white mist that drifted like a waking dream. The witch did not shout or mock. Instead, she spoke in a voice that was resonant and cool. "You have come to find the meaning of true love, haven't you, Little Mermaid?" The witch explained calmly that every transformation requires a balance. She could grant the gift of legs, but every step would feel as sharp as dancing on the points of needles. And what she asked in return was not gold, but the Little Mermaid's enchanting voice, a vow that true love does not require words. If the prince loved her from his soul within the appointed time, the spell would be broken. But if his heart belonged to another, her body would dissolve into white sea foam and vanish with the wind. The Little Mermaid nodded with quiet resolve. The witch handed her a crystal vial filled with clear, shimmering liquid. When she drank the potion, a great pain surged through her, and she lost consciousness. When she opened her eyes, she found that her tail was gone, replaced by a pair of slender legs. The young prince was standing before her, looking at her with great kindness. Though she could not speak, her grace and the sincerity in her eyes created an immediate bond between them. He took her into his palace and cared for her as if she were the most precious pearl in the land. Months passed by. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. They spent every moment together. The prince showed her the ways of the human world, walking through fragrant gardens, riding horses along the shoreline, and sitting together under the starlight, listening to music. Though she could not speak a word, she communicated through her gentle smiles and dances that were as fluid as the tides. The prince began to find her silence incredibly precious, realizing he could understand her heart just by looking into her eyes. A deep, unbreakable bond formed between them, and he realized his happiness was simply seeing her smile by his side. One night, under the light of a full moon that shone over the glass-like sea, the prince led her along the beach where they had first met. The moonlight hit the water, sparkling like diamonds fallen from the sky. The prince stopped and turned to the girl before him with a gaze full of understanding and profound affection. He slowly knelt on the fine white sand, took her hand gently in his, and spoke in a voice tender and sure. "Over these past months, I have been searching for the answer of who saved my life, but now I realize it doesn't matter. The truth is, you are the one who saves my life every day with your beautiful heart. Please marry me and stay by my side forever." The moment those words of true love were spoken from the depths of his soul, the miracle the witch had promised came to pass. The bonds of silence shattered in an instant. The Little Mermaid's voice, as beautiful as a heavenly song, returned to her. "Yes," she said, with tears of overwhelming joy. Amidst the gentle sound of the waves, which seemed to clap in celebration, the Sea King and her 5 sisters rose above the water to witness the scene with warm, proud smiles. The Little Mermaid received a human soul and lived with her prince in perfect happiness for many, many years. Together they ruled their kingdom on land and kept peace with the world beneath the sea. The story of a love that conquered all obstacles without the need for words became a legend whispered through the ages, a reminder of the quiet power of a pure and steadfast heart.